On this Thursday night, new details about the charity We and its close connection to the family of the Prime Minister. We now says it paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to the Prime Minister's mother, brother, and wife, adding fodder to the ethics investigation. Chilling new details about George Floyd's final moments, what officers said as he told them, "I can't breathe." And making it legal, the changes police chiefs want to Canada's drug laws.
Global National with Dawna Friesen.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. There's new information tonight about how family members of Prime Minister Justin Trudeau profited from speaking engagements with the same charity now at the centre of an ethics investigation. The charity We was awarded a $900 million federal contract without any competition to handle a new Canada Student Service grant. On Friday, that contract was pulled after intense criticism about how it was awarded. And now the charity says it has paid Margaret Trudeau, the Prime Minister's mother, about $250,000 for approximately 28 speaking engagements. And it's paid Alexandre Trudeau, the Prime Minister's brother, $32,000 for 8 appearances. We says the Prime Minister's wife was also paid $1,400 for 1 event and has volunteered for many others. All of this raises questions not only about the Prime Minister's judgment, but the future of the program thousands of students had applied for. Our chief political correspondent, David Akin, joins me. David, give us more context on the concerns here.
Yeah, well, this is a big mess for the Prime Minister. It's a big mess for the students, and it's not so great for the We organization either. And let's talk about the We organization for a minute. This is a global charity that raises about $70 million a year, created by Mark and Craig Kielburger. Its main objective primarily get young people engaged with civic society. Now, the Prime Minister and his wife have frequently appeared at We events around the world over the years, and that has helped burnish the image of Trudeau as a politician for young people. And when the Trudeau government wanted to run that $900 million program that essentially would connect students with volunteer organizations, We got the contract, and We would have earned about $20 million for itself as a result. And as you mentioned, it was a sole source contract. And in fact, when the time came for Cabinet to award the contract, the Prime Minister admitted on Wednesday that he did not recuse himself from any cabinet discussions about the controversial deal. He explained that youth issues have always been top of mind for him throughout his political career.
Getting young people involved in serving their country, recognizing their desire to build a better Canada, particularly through this time of crisis, is something that I believe in deeply.
Now, whatever his justification, Justin Trudeau now faces another investigation by the Ethics Commissioner, Parliament's Ethics Commissioner, and this is the 3rd investigation Justin Trudeau has faced over ethics since he became Prime Minister. Dawna?
And David, I believe 35,000 students have applied for volunteer jobs under this service grant program. What's happening to them now?
Yeah, well, students are waiting for this program to get up and running, and there is a lot of confusion. There are jobs being posted at the federal government's website that don't exist. Federal government bureaucrats are scrambling right now to get the program up and running. They're going to deliver it themselves. And that kind of begs the question, why didn't the government just do that in the first place? Why did we have to get involved in all? And that brings us back to the judgment of Justin Trudeau. Dawna?
Lots of questions. David Akin in Ottawa, thank you. Global News has more insight tonight into the security incident at the Prime Minister's residence last week. 46-year-old Corey Hirin, a member of the Canadian Armed Forces, faces 22 charges, including threatening death or bodily harm to the Prime Minister. He's accused of ramming the gates of Rideau Hall with his truck, and court documents reveal he had 4 loaded guns with him. Some people, including the leader of the NDP, call what he's alleged to have done domestic terrorism, but that's not what he's charged with. Jeff Semple joins us now with more. Jeff, what have we learned about Corey Hirin and a possible motive?
Well, Dawna, the man accused of storming the Prime Minister's residence, Corey Hirin, wrote a letter. Now, we haven't seen it for ourselves, but sources say that it included a laundry list of grievances and things that had gone wrong in his life, from his late brother and father to the federal firearms legislation. And he blamed the government for shutting down Parliament and parts of the economy in response to the COVID-19 pandemic.
In his letter, sources say Hirin complained that the lockdown would cost him his sausage business and that his truck would soon be repossessed. But as a military reservist, he was still receiving a full paycheck.
The letter seems to suggest that he had financial troubles, but if you're getting paid full-time as a reservist, especially in a small community, that's a good amount of money.
All reservists were placed on duty during the pandemic, some deployed to long-term care homes. But Hirin, a ranger in Manitoba, was placed on standby and told to quarantine at home indefinitely.
This was kind of a clear case for me, at least based on the letter and the contents in the letter, of someone who'd found a lot of purpose and meaning from his life, his job, his role in the military, and he started to experience a lot of that whittle away.
Sitting at home, Hirin apparently spent a lot of time online. His letter and social media posts describe a conspiracy theory that claims Bill Gates and other elites orchestrated the COVID-19 pandemic.
He probably had these thoughts and ideas for a long time. The impetus is not some particular set of ideas. The ideas are there in the background for a long time. It's the emotion, it's the pain, it's the depression. It's not being able to just sit there and take it anymore.
Sources say his letter described Canada as a communist dictatorship. He hoped his actions would serve as a wake-up call, adding, "I have said more in my emails to MPs. They never responded."
The Conservative Party of Canada confirms to Global News that several of its MPs did indeed receive emails from Hirin expressing his concerns about government policy. But according to a party spokesperson, none of those emails raised any red flags. Similarly, the Canadian Armed Forces says that it found no issues of physical or mental health that would have prevented his re-enrollment in the forces last year. Dawna?
All right, Jeff Semple, thank you. Let's bring in our Ottawa Bureau Chief, Mercedes Stephenson. Mercedes, this happened at Rideau Hall. That's the Governor General's residence. And Rideau Cottage is also on the grounds there. That's where the Prime Minister and his family live. What larger concerns does it raise about security there?
Well, it's a really tough place in some ways to have security, Dawna, because this is not a typical home where the head of the country would live that is heavily secured and designed for that purpose. Rideau Hall is the traditional location where the Governor General lives, and the grounds are open to the public in Ottawa. So lots of people, apart from COVID-19, where they're closed right now, would enjoy a Sunday stroll, would go skating there in the winter. It's always been very accessible. And Global News has learned that RCMP protective detail personnel have raised concerns about their ability to secure the grounds at Rideau Hall because of that public accessibility. So it's now under review. The police are trying to figure out how they do this, but there are people asking questions about why some of these issues were not addressed earlier. For example, the gates that the man smashed through in his truck with those loaded guns didn't have any kind of a concrete barrier in front of them to stop something like that. And if you look anywhere on Parliament Hill, or if anyone's been to now suspended before very common events like parades and public celebrations, you'd see these concrete barriers up to prevent people from conducting vehicle attacks. So, Dawna, lots of questions about security there. Still that challenge of how do you keep it open but protect the Prime Minister? But we do know that the RCMP has apparently raised these concerns on more than one occasion.
The Prime Minister has faced security threats before, and you have some information about a threat during a campaign event last fall.
So I'm sure, Dawna, you and all of our viewers will remember the Prime Minister coming out in a bulky, bulletproof Kevlar vest. At the time he was in the vest, the Prime Minister's office, the Liberal Party, and the RCMP wouldn't tell us what the threat was. We know that that threat now was, in fact, that there was a person allegedly in the audience with a gun. A bus driver who was working to drive people to this campaign rally approached the RCMP saying she had seen a man holding a black pistol in his hands. And her description was so convincing to the RCMP that they believed there was a credible threat. They also made the recommendation at that point to the Trudeau campaign that they should cancel the event or not go out in the crowd. Instead, they waited 90 minutes while the RCMP combed the crowd. They never found the gun or the man, and they made the decision to go ahead with the event. Dawna?
All right, Mercedes Stephenson in Ottawa, thank you. Now to the pandemic. The World Health Organization has acknowledged that it's possible the novel coronavirus may be transmitted through aerosols, which can linger in the air and spread further than 2 meters. Until now, the organization is focused on transmission by large droplets expelled when a person coughs or sneezes. In a new scientific brief, the WHO says microscopic droplets that can float further could also transmit the virus. More than 200 scientists had urged the WHO to update its guidance after mounting evidence of airborne transmission. The organization at first resisted. It now says this may help explain outbreaks in enclosed settings like churches, bars, and restaurants. And it's advising people to avoid crowded indoor spaces that are poorly ventilated. It also says more work needs to be done to fully understand transmission. The WHO also says the pandemic is getting worse, and it says world leaders must work harder together to get the situation under control. Tonight, more than 550,000 people are known to have died from COVID-19 around the world, and more than 12.1 million people have tested positive. One of the world's most worrying hotspots is still the United States. It shattered yet another daily case record yesterday. More than 62,000 Americans tested positive. At least 5 states, Missouri, Texas, Tennessee, Utah, and West Virginia, set single-day records, and hospital ICUs in several cities have now reached capacity. President Donald Trump has, ever since he got elected, refused to release his tax returns. Today, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled he does not have the absolute right to block their release. The ruling opens the door to New York prosecutors and potentially Congress getting to see his financial records. Our Washington Bureau Chief Jackson Prosco is with me. Jackson, what will this ruling trigger?
Well, Donna, the headline here is that President Donald Trump's claims of absolute power do not exist, and he is not exempt from legal scrutiny. The court here looked at 2 different cases. In one, the prosecutors in New York wanted Trump's financial records as they investigate hush money payments made to 2 women who claimed they had affairs with him. And in a 7-2 decision, the court sided with those prosecutors, saying that Trump is not above the law when it comes to being compelled to produce evidence for a grand jury. The second case involved a subpoena from Democrats in Congress who want access to Trump's business and banking records. They're trying to investigate any foreign entanglements or other alleged financial crimes. In another 7-2 decision, that issue was punted back to the lower courts to debate issues around separation of powers, but basically it leaves the door open for Congress to get those documents someday. Now, Donna, as you can imagine, Trump is not happy. He has been firing off angry tweets all day and reacted a short time ago.
Well, the rulings were basically starting all over again, sending everything back down to the lower courts, and you start all over again. And so from a certain point, I'm satisfied. From another point, I'm not satisfied, because frankly, this is a political witch hunt, the likes of which nobody's ever seen before. It's a pure witch hunt. It's a hoax.
Jackson, President Trump is the first U.S. president since Jimmy Carter not to release his tax returns. Does this ruling mean he will? And if so, how soon?
Well, here's where both of today's decisions sort of work out as a win for Trump. The president can still challenge the scope and relevance of the subpoena from prosecutors in New York, and he has sort of long argued that they're on a wild fishing expedition here trying to dig up dirt. And the lower courts will still have to hear the case of those congressional subpoenas. What this means is that it's unlikely that either matter will be resolved before November's election. So even if Trump is ultimately forced to produce those documents that he has so carefully guarded, he'll either be in his second term or out of office by the time it happens. Donna?
All right, Jackson Prosco in Washington, thanks. New court documents have been released that give us a detailed account of George Floyd's final moments, the unarmed black man who died after a police officer kneeled on his neck. Transcripts of police body camera footage shed light on key parts of what was said and what exactly happened. Eric Sorensen has the chilling details and a warning some of what's in this story could be disturbing for some viewers.
No justice! No peace! The killing of George Floyd sparked protests for racial justice around the world. No peace! The eyewitness video of his arrest was chilling. New transcripts suggest Floyd at first was afraid he'd be shot by police. "Mr. Officer, please don't shoot me, man, please." Police struggled to get Floyd into a vehicle. The transcript, taken from police body cameras, is unsparing. Floyd says, "I can't breathe." Officer Lane, "Get him on the ground." Floyd, "Let go of me, man. I can't breathe." By the time he was down, Floyd was desperate but immobilized. Bystander video captured his anguished plea.
What do you want? I can't breathe.
The transcript shows he uttered, "I can't breathe," no fewer than 20 times. At one point, Floyd says, "My neck hurts. Everything hurts. I need some water or something, please, please. I can't breathe, officer." Officer Chauvin, "Then stop talking. Stop yelling." Floyd, "You're going to kill me, man." Chauvin, "Then stop talking, stop yelling. It takes a heck of a lot of oxygen to talk." All 4 officers involved were fired by Minneapolis police. Derek Chauvin was the officer with his knee on Floyd's neck. He's charged with second-degree murder. The other 3 are charged with aiding and abetting murder. The lawyer for one of them, former officer Thomas Lane, wants those charges dropped because Chauvin was the senior officer making decisions. Lane's argument, says this legal analyst,
and if Derek Chauvin had not shown up and had not been the senior officer, George Floyd would still be alive.
During his agonizing final minutes, Floyd said, "Tell my kids I love them." He called out to his mama several times. His final words, "Please, please, please." Even before the detailed transcripts, Floyd's family was convinced he was killed because of race.
My nephew getting murdered by a damn madman in the middle of the street. For what reason? Because of the color of his skin.
When George Floyd had stopped moving, a bystander said to police, "He's not even breathing right now, bro. You think that's cool?" Officer Chauvin asked, "You guys all right, though?" Officer Lane, "Yeah, I mean, my knee might be a little scratched, but I'll survive." Eric Sorensen, Global News, Toronto.
A surprising request from Canada's police chiefs. Coming up, why they say simple possession of illicit drugs should be legal. A group representing police chiefs across Canada is calling for decriminalizing the possession of small amounts of illicit drugs. The Canadian Association of Chiefs of Police says substance use and addiction are a public health issue, and it's recommending a national task force be created to look into drug policy reform. The president of the organization, Vancouver Police Chief Adam Palmer, says arresting people for simple possession has proven ineffective and doesn't save lives.
Being addicted to a controlled substance is not a crime and should not be treated as such. We recommend that Canada's enforcement-based approach for possession be replaced with a healthcare approach that diverts people from the criminal justice system.
Palmer says the healthcare model could include increased access to treatment and social services. Canada has a fentanyl overdose crisis and a toxic drug supply that has killed more than 15,000 people. Still ahead, a new plea deal in the trial of British Columbia's deadliest gang shooting. There's an update tonight on the case of one of BC's most notorious gangsters. Jamie Bacon and his brothers are well known to the police, and tonight Bacon has pleaded guilty to 1 count of conspiracy in the deaths known in BC as the Surrey Six. It was a gang turf war that resulted in 2 innocent people being killed. As Robin Gill reports, the mother of one of those victims says she hopes justice is finally served.
Eileen Mohan is always on time for court. She hardly ever misses a legal proceeding because it involves the murder of her only child.
I'm not here to look for revenge, Robin. I'm here just to seek justice for my son because this crime came to my doorstep. We did not go to this crime. We were a crime-free family.
In 2007, 22-year-old Christopher Mohan was returning to his apartment in a Vancouver suburb. Unbeknownst to him, an alleged drug dealer who lived in the building and his associates were the target of a turf war. Mohan and another innocent bystander, Ed Schellenberg, a repairman, were caught in the crossfire. It was infamously dubbed the Surrey Six, the deadliest gang shooting in BC's history. Jamie Bacon, a member of the Red Scorpions gang, has pleaded guilty to 1 count of conspiracy to commit murder and counseling to commit murder in a different case. It's a so-called 2-for-1 deal that takes the charge of first-degree murder off the table.
Mr. Bacon is content to have the proceeding complete very soon and to put all this behind him.
The Crown and defense both agreed to a plea deal. Now the question is the actual sentence for Bacon, who's already served 6 years in custody.
He has nowhere to run. Like a coward again, he pleaded guilty, but with a bargain plea.
After 13 years of agony and reliving her son's final moments every time she's in court, she hopes there's finally some justice for her family. Robin Gill, Global News, Vancouver.
Next, the rare gorilla is caught on camera in Nigeria. New photos of the world's rarest great apes have been released, and they reveal some good news. These images, taken in southern Nigeria, show 7 cross-river gorillas, and with them are a number of babies. Only 300 of this rare subspecies of the gorilla are known to exist along the Nigeria-Cameroon border. Once thought to be extinct after decades of poaching, they were rediscovered in 1980. Conservationists say the sighting is a sign the gorillas are reproducing and recovering. That is Global National for this Thursday. I'm Dawna Friesen. Today is Nunavut Day, and in honor of that, we leave you tonight with some beautiful views from Pangnirtung on Baffin Island. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you here again tomorrow. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.